Welcome to the BDGG guide for Lady Inerva Darkvein in Mythic Castle Nathria, presented by Wowhead. Darkvein is the 6th boss in the instance, and is locked behind Hungering Destroyer. In Mythic, anima canisters drain into each other instead of draining into the room. This means that you will inevitably be getting the level 1 and 2 empowered versions of each ability before this fight is over. For raid composition on this fight, we recommend 2 tanking and only 3 healing this fight. The DPS check on this fight is extremely high, and your kill will have to be less than 6 minutes. No specific classes need to be run. The range should position on this fight against the ledge in front of the boss, as one of the first abilities empowered is the Lingering Anima, which leaves behind a permanent puddle when you soak it. Once you soak where the Lingering Anima spawns, you'll slowly move in a moon shape around the edge of the room as the puddles fill up your space. You'll want to try and leave the middle of the room open for sin beams throughout the fight. Exposed Desires is the tank debuff, and you should have the tanks taunt after 1 stack at the very beginning of the fight, then at 2 stacks throughout the fight. Like Heroic, you'll have to deal with sin beams throughout the fight. On Mythic, there will be an additional offset orb to cross the lines through. This additional orb will always be closer to another orb instead of equally spread out, and the player who goes to that side should make a visual line from the other orbs to an intersecting point and stand there. Players should try and let healers take nearby sin orbs, and more mobile DPS take the further versions. Lingering Anima still has to be soaked, and a mis-soak will result in a wipe. The Mythic Canister draining mechanic can be simplified into one simple rule. Drain the concentrated anima canister the first time it hits 6%, and later in the fight, drain the bottled anima canister from 85 until 80% before closing it. This will give you roughly the longest fight time before Harden Rage, and limits the complexity of the mechanic. Every 25%, or 100 seconds, the boss starts to empower the next canister, and you can see that shortly after here we have one of our raiders head over to the concentrated anima and open it at 6% and leave it to close itself at 0%. We've got more Lingering Anima soaks here, and it's the last set of the fight that will be unempowered. We now get to see the Mythic Sin Beams play out, and the 2 DPS players head to the further orbs to let our healer take the closer double orb. Sylas and Aestus here aren't necessarily worried about lining up with each other, but instead lining up with Champy's double orbs, as an orb only needs 1 beam through it at the same time to finish the mechanic. We life grip and use speed boost to get back into position from sins from this point onwards, as the Lingering Anima locations bait off player positions and now leave behind the permanent puddle. We're about to see our first ad spawns. We place these in a tight triangle ahead of the boss and drop an AMZ that barely covers each player to reduce the massive hit of the debuff expiring. There are 2 ads that must be kicked while they are alive, and a missed kick will wipe the raid. Having multiple assignments per ad and a kick rotation weak aura is really important for this fight. The boss gives you a debuff that spawns the ad several seconds later, and the application of this debuff can and should be pre-immuned on players. You can spell reflect or AMS it. Cloak also has a short cooldown, but hunters and mages should pre-immune the first set, and the set that spawns just after the 4-minute mark in the fight. At this point, both the Desires and Bottled Anima containers are level 1 empowered. For the Desire canister, this adds a new tank mechanic. Whenever a tank gets an application of Warped Desires, they are afflicted with Hidden Desire. Hidden Desire spawns ads that are only visible to the tank. These ads are not killable, but instead charge the tank, and the tank must face them or they get another application of Warped Desires. This ad can spawn at any location around the tank, and can even spawn in corners and walls, so you'll have to keep a close eye on them. From here, the mechanics start to repeat, but become further empowered and add chaos to the fight. The ad spawns need a raid cooldown or personal cooldown available for each set. The Lingering Anima soaks need to be baited towards the edge of the room so the puddles don't get in the way of the sin beams. And sin beams are now connected with laser beams that prevent you from running through. As things reach level 2 empowered, the fight becomes even more lethal, and this next set of ads is the one that we use all available immunities for. This will also be the last set we kill, and the final set will just be kicked and tanked while the boss is burned down before the enrage. We got 2 ad spawns here, which isn't terrible, but on a perfect pull, you'd ideally only see 1 or even 0. The next Sin Beams are level 2 empowered, which makes their lasers rotate from each orb. Avoiding them isn't difficult, but it makes handling sins take longer, which means players will need to save personal cooldowns and receive much more external healing. The Lingering Animal Bottles, now level 2 empowered, will begin to bounce after their first soak. Once you soak the main hit, they will bounce 15 yards further for another soak. The big problem here is that more and more puddles are spawning in the room. Avoiding these during sin beams is extremely important, as the extra damage is likely to kill you, and a sins target dying almost assuredly results in a wipe. As the second container reaches 84 to 86%, you want to prepare to vent it. An assigned range player should get into position and vent it from roughly 85 down to 80% before closing it. While soaks and sins continue, we get our last sets of adds here, which we do not put any damage into, but only kick and focus burn the boss. I'll let the remainder of the fight play out with comms, but if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe and like the video to be notified of the rest of our Castle Nathria guides. Good luck.
To organize.
This is great. They're at 12%. They just have to kick these adds.
Canisters are all fine too. 16% on both canisters, 9% on boss. Give me some spam, chat. Let's lift it up. Come on.
Spam the plane to kill Darkvein. They have the sins coming out. This is not their last set yet. They're going to deal with these.
5%.
Looking everyone alive here. They just need to make sure these condemns are still handled. Ads are actually dying. They don't have to worry about
Manage
this.
these kicks.
Only 9%. We're 90% on the canister. 2%.
Pump.
1.5.
Get it.
1.
Get it.
What? So clean. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Literally all 20 people alive.
Boom.
Easy
Spam
one
the plane
shot.
to kill Darkvein. I was here. We just started casting.